I'm talking about the group that you sat down, A, B, C, D, E. Did they finish their first case?
Yeah, finish that case, yeah.
Okay. Got a fucking translator here. Come on, give him some Chinaman shit. I mean, and by the way, I don't want any YouTube shit about me being racist because I call Chinese Chinaman. Go fuck yourselves. I call anybody what I want to call them when they're here. This is, there's intergalactic truth, intercontinental truth, local truth, and there's my fucking truth. So, okay, everybody's done for their first case. Now, who do we have? Well, we're not going to have any volunteers. We're going to start with case 1, with A, Van Clusterfuck. As I told you when I went around to the groups and the breakout groups, there were 2 apparent deals that were very doable. There was 2 that weren't so doable. In fact, shite. And 1, because of the lack of testicles of the one case, and because of not seller's remorse, because they haven't sold them yet, that they probably wouldn't get rid of it. Because the first case was something that belonged to somebody in your group. And that'll be the way until we get a couple days from now when we start doing business cases. I also gave you an article last night on internal rates of return. And does anybody have anybody like to volunteer to explain either that method of internal rate of return or a different one that you might be using in your search, in your worldwide search for acquisition candidates? Does anybody that is looking at deals use that IRR methodology? Yes. Well, then why are your deals so shit? Yeah. But the bottom line is, and I'm stealing a little bit of my thunder from 9 days from now, is that if you use that in your worldwide search for acquisitions, you might as well kill yourself today. Because, trust me, Josh doesn't know what IRR is. He doesn't have a fucking clue. He only learned what debt and equity was, or are, about 8 days ago. He had got his whole board, the accountants, the lawyers. And when he was starting to talk to the banks, he thought, maybe, Dan, why don't you, is there anything else I should know? I said, okay, let's get the debt and equity now. You heard him. He found me on March, I think he said. He wanted to come to the June seminar, but he couldn't for some reason, and maybe it's because it was sold out. And he came to I think it was August. When did he come, August? July, August, right before my birthday, yeah. So he came to he did the seminar, and he didn't learn debt and equity at the seminar. Because I told him to focus in on the board, because the board makes everything happen. And focus in on the chairman. Because everything else, it's like President Reagan's drip down, trickle down effect. Everything emanates from the chairman. And if you have a good, strong chairman, he'll support you. And if you don't have a good, strong chairman, you're going to get thrown out. And the chairman may throw you out, though. So if the deal is good enough, he'll throw you out. But then that's why the most important person that you interface with or you search for, and that's why it's the most important. That's the most important. And you can change chairman, though. You can. I don't recommend it, because then that sends a message to the rest of the board. And that's why when you have a chairman that is buddy-buddy and swapping spit and bodily fluids with their other board members, because he brought him on, that's a problem, potentially. Not always, but it can be a problem potentially. And that's why when some of you email me in your weekly reports, Dan, the chairman wants to bring on so-and-so. Where's Andre? Okay. He wanted to bring on so-and-so. You remember? He wanted to bring on so-and-so, some guy he wanted to bring on. And he wanted him to be the worker bee because the chairman was an old lazy fucking cunt probably. I don't know, I never met him, but. And if you're watching this, I don't mean anything against you. You're just a cunt, that's all. So don't worry about it. And so Andrej, he recruited his board initially with people like him. Now you can see that there's a huge downside to that, can't you, Ting? I mean, soft-spoken, mild-mannered, and so he could relate to them. Well, the last motherfucking thing you want is somebody is like you to be your chairman. You don't want that. And some of you, it's even worse case. Some of you, you might be able to sneak by. But for most people, not just in this group, most people that come to the seminar, you don't want the board to be like you. You don't want the board to be like you. Okay, so the IRR article, I give it out to you because it's bullshit. And I'm almost positive that 90% of you couldn't do that equation. 90%. Maybe 2 or 3 of you could. But it's not important. It's not important. I was going to have Bert come up and explain it and do an example of the IRR and how he used it to filter through his acquisition candidates from pickle factories to whatever the fuck those other things were that you sent me. But you don't need that. You need somebody on your board that can do IRR calculation, but it sure as fuck shouldn't be you. And that's what the CFO, so the second most important person on your board is the CFO or finance director, wherever part of the world you are. And then of course, the CEO, because in many cases you won't be the CEO. And so when you get down to it, you understand why some of the guys and gals in years gone by don't even put their profile in the executive summary. They list chairman, blah, 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 and they forget to list themselves. Why? Because you're the weak link. Not all the time, but a majority of the time you are, well, all the time you're the weak link based on the industry experts and all those guys that have all the experience. You're not the weak link vis-a-vis you brought them all together. And you had the energy and this and that. And the most common thing I hear from the senior guys, not necessarily as old as I am, but I mean the senior guys that are on these boards, I admire your energy, you know, your focus. In some cases, you remind me of myself when I was younger. And that's what you bring to the table. At the end of the day, will that be enough to keep you on the board? It depends. It depends how good you are in cultivating. And one of the reasons I have Chris send out information to the board members periodically is to keep them in the loop. Keep them in the loop. And because you don't want them to get bored. We've got a couple guys here in this room that have lost CFOs. You know, after 3, 4, 5 months, they say, you know, what am I CFO of? So you have to keep them engaged. You have to keep them engaged. Now, we're not going to, they say any questions on anything I just said so far? Yep, Rick.
That last point in terms of keeping them engaged, how often would you recommend in the early stages when you're looking?
Once a month.
Once a month, okay. Anything in particular you would send them? I look at
exactly. Well, what you're doing. I mean, what's the status of the deals? Has anybody left the board? Which normally that's when your dick shrivels up, because you don't, when should I tell them that they two guys left? Should I tell them? How did you phrase it? I forget, Chris. How did you say? I mean, Andre as well. I mean, 2, 3 of you have asked me. They left. What do I tell the people? Well, first of all, you don't lie. You don't lie. But when you tell them, is it, and you told them after we replaced them, right? Okay. And as luck would have it, or fate, or Allah, whatever the fuck, we replaced them with stronger people than we had. So, you don't wait 5 months and then all of a sudden and you do have a board meeting, and they show up to the board meeting and there's all these fucking new guys. And Chris has done it pretty well. He goes and he sees them, he interfaces with them, he talks to them in addition to the monthly updates. And the CFO and the COO, he's engaging with on maybe not a daily basis, but certainly a weekly basis. In some cases, a daily basis. And if you keep them engaged, you keep them in the loop with good news and bad news, and try to have some good news, you're going to give them bad news. So the only thing that they see is, half the board left. That's not such a great news release for them. But we replaced them with, Rick and Van Clusterfuck and Tony and that, and then this is why they're so good. Then that's good. That's good. Most of the problems that you're going to have with your board members, you'll cause. In fact, almost all of them, you'll cause. You'll cause because you'll think wrongfully so, even though it's in the 1900 slides and it's in the book and it's on numerous podcasts and all the fucking information that I have that you haven't read, and it's there. One of the things in the new year, I'm not going to answer questions that are anymore that are in the material. Not going to answer them anymore. My days of answering those stupid questions are over. And if you continue to ask me the stupid question, I'm going to go, you're out of there! Like an umpire in a baseball game. I can't wait to do that, actually. Because as I told you, I just have made it too easy. Too easy. Now, if your wife gets kidnapped by an alien and your daughter is run over by a truck, not knocked up, but run over, killed, dead, I might cut you some slack. But there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. You're in a bank cashing your welfare check, and the bank gets robbed, and you're cut down, and you're in the hospital, and you're on a what do you call those machines? A respirator. Maybe I'll cut you some slack, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. Okay, any other questions before we get rid of YouTube and we start with you giving the cases? No other questions? YouTube, see you later. Happy the day after. Here it's Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Some places they celebrate the day after more than the actual day. But see, I got some emails. Why am I not in a suit? Because I told them they could dress smart casual. Since these guys got no money to buy any smart casual fucking clothes, they wear their suits without ties or some shit. Your clothes still aren't here? Okay, he's got, okay. But this is what smart casual looks like. This is how rich people dress. It used to be called country club dress. Okay. Bye-bye, YouTube. Thank you.